Well, so tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you were a magician.
Yes.
In the past?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I performed magic at a nightclub called Wizards in Hollywood, and at the Magic Castle in Hollywood, and making money as a magician is how I paid my way through college.
Okay, so video games, surrounding video games, they're kind of magic, you know?
It is.
Yeah,
There's a lot of similarities.
But
because we're taking something that isn't real and making it real.
But nowadays it seems like video games are losing their magic.
Well, you think so?
Well, everything is Call of Duty. Most of it.
There's one Call of Duty.
Except in Borderlands.
Thank you very much for that. And I appreciate that, because Borderlands it was a lot of fun for us to take some risks and do some things that people haven't done before, both in the unique art direction and the look, feel of the game, which is unlike anything we'd ever seen before, and also in the gameplay, which did some things, blending role-playing, like looting and growth and leveling up, blending that with what's fun about a shooter. I think there's a lot of innovation in the industry. I think it's, but the more games we play, then the easier it is for us to see some of the patterns that emerge. But there's still new gamers joining this industry, joining the hobby and playing their first games. They've never played games before, and to some of them, some of these games that seem very boring and the same to us, it can be very exciting for them, and it's okay for them to have that.
Okay, talking more about the business, the industry. A few weeks ago, Crytek announced that they were going to the free-to-play field. So have you ever thought about it? In Gearbox?
I think that there's some. I mean, it's a cool business model, and there's some things that we're doing that could end up there that we haven't talked about yet. But right now, I mean, from my seat, I am really gratified by creating really relevant entertainment that reaches a lot of people. I also think, as an entertainer, it's really important to me to know that the value that my customers get from the entertainment that I'm offering them far exceeds what they have to pay for it. And one of the fears I have with and there's some good, like I play League of Legends, for example, and that's a free-to-play game, and I think that the way they've done it is really good, because it doesn't it's not preying on my addiction to monetize me. It's offering me cosmetic things that if I want to have a new skin for my character, I can pay cash for it. Yeah, but I don't have to, and I can have all the fun in the world playing that game without spending $1. And that's I think that's a fair deal that's honest with respect to free to play. I get concerned when some games that say they're free to play, but their goal is really to create an addiction loop, and then to put a wall up where it's impossible to proceed without being hit incrementally. And oftentimes, some of the players that find themselves trapped by that psychology end up spending a lot more than they would have if they just bought a premium $60 game, which has way better graphics and way better experience than these simple free-to-play games. And I think that's a slippery slope, and we have to be very careful. And as a game maker, we have to decide what's our interest. Are we businessmen where we're going to harvest the addictions of a gamer, or are we entertainers where we get gratification from offering value and joy and happiness to our customers? I'm an entertainer, and I have to be responsible and try to make at least as much as I spend. Otherwise, I'll go out of business. But my goal isn't to try to extract value from the customer. My goal is to give them value. And for them to feel like, that was awesome, I can't wait to get the next game from these guys. And I want people to look forward to the next games from Gearbox Software. And I think the other side of that coin, some of these businesses, they're more like tobacco companies than entertainers, where they're going to try to just get somebody addicted to something and then take their money because they can't stop. And I think that's shameful, in my opinion.
Well, the past months, Kickstarter has become something of a phenomenon. Everything talks about Kickstarter.
It's neat, yeah.
So what do you think about it? Do you think that it can change the industry, that it can make that the developers listen to the consumers, the public?
Well, I think what Kickstarter does is it creates some opportunities for financing things that in a different sort of way. Like I love Tim Schafer's games, and he's got such a great sense of humor, and I love that he's able to do something through Kickstarter financing that probably wouldn't have been financed through the traditional publisher model. And part of that's because a lot of us, like, I put $500 into Tim's game, and I was really happy to do that. If there was a product from the typical model, I would have spent $50 on it. And so part of what enables that to happen is there's some of us that do have some means, and we love it enough where we're willing and actually excited to help something happen, and we'll put more in for it. And that gives him the means to do a good job, hopefully. There's been a few high profile video game projects that have been financed with Kickstarter, but we haven't yet seen any high profile results. So there's still some time to see how this all works out. But it's another angle. It's pretty exciting to add that to the mix.
Okay, changing the subject, we were talking before we got along. We were talking about the humor in video games. In Gearbox's games, there's lots of humor. But
some of them,
the other
yeah.
companies, I don't know. It's hard to find a game with sense of humor nowadays. What do you think?
We're very fortunate. Part of our intent at Gearbox isn't just to make the one game over and over again. We're as entertainers, we also have creative interests, and we want to explore a bit. So, like, on one hand, we have a franchise we created called Brothers in Arms, which is very serious. Now, certainly soldiers will tell jokes to one another, and there's times when you'll laugh. Like any good war movie will have humor, levity that comes into it. But the video game really treats the subject matter with a lot of deference, and it's a very serious approach. Conversely, Borderlands is very loose, and we embrace kind of entertainment in a lot of different ways. Yeah, there's some serious moments, but there's a lot of just loose fun and joy that just kind of emerges from the nature of what Borderlands is all about. And I think we've been kind of fortunate that we're able to kind of maintain and manage multiple properties and multiple interests. Our upcoming game, Aliens Colonial Marines, is very authentic and very sincere. And there's certainly characters like Hudson that'll crack jokes in the stories, but it's a very serious and dire situation, and we're treating it very authentically. So I think we've been fortunate in that regard. I think that some developers aren't as fortunate. They'll either focus on one thing. Some folks like to take themselves very seriously, and they want to take that approach. Other folks take it very lightly. And fortunately, there's a whole lot of interests out there. Some customers want horror. Some customers want suspense. Some customers want drama. Some customers want comedy. And sometimes the same customer wants difference of these things at different times. I can watch The Hangover one night, the movie which is crazy, and then the very next night watch Saving Private Ryan. And that's fine. And as game makers, we can also do the same things. But it's really about our interests and where the customer is.
Okay, so last one. How do you see the industry in a few years from now? Because there's lots of people that say that next generation of gaming consoles will be the last one because of development costs going too high and everything. So
that's
what is your prediction as a magician?
Well, that's ridiculous that the next generation consoles will be the last. But our technology is getting better and better. The possibilities are getting more and more exciting, and more people are joining the hobby and playing games than ever before. But we're still so far from saturated. This year's ESA report about the state of video game industry in North America told us that only 49% of United States households have a video game console. What that means is we're not even halfway saturated yet. We have so much more room to grow. And when you think about everything else that's going on, like if you think about the world at large, most of the world doesn't even have the lights on yet. So there's going to be, but when we enter this world, and if we have video games as an option, we play them. All new people play video games, and it's a very exciting medium because it's interactive. So the future is going to be way more exciting than the past. Now, 2 to 3 years from now is not that far along. We will be at the beginning of a new generation of consoles. We will be farther along with mobile. Some of the new business models that are emerging will start to stabilize, and we'll see more patterns start to emerge with that. And every front though will experience growth. Every front will experience growth, and every front will engage and excite the gamers that want what that what that approach has to offer. So I'm really excited. I know the things that we're doing that'll come out about 2 to 3 years from now are extremely exciting, and I'm looking forward to talking about them. Of course, right now what we're talking about is the fact that this September, Borderlands 2 is going to launch.
Yeah,
and
we tried it yesterday. And it
awesome,
was really good.
Did you? Thank you. And that's just the tip of the scratching the surface.
Yeah.
The game is so big and so much better than Borderlands 1. Borderlands 2 makes Borderlands 1 look like the Stone Age, and then of course we're launching Aliens: Colonial Marines in February. So we've got a really exciting time just coming up in the short term, and then of course the future looks even more exciting.